Hi, ABEC community. Hopefully everybody's taking care of themselves today. First, I want to share, I know folks reached out and wondering why they hadn't heard from me in videos for a bit, and my concussion's going just fine, recovering, and that may be part of the reason for a bit of slowdown and screen time here, but be just fine. And I do also want to share, I'll be talking about the racial violence in our society right now, as well as racial tensions around and disparities in COVID-19. So it'll be a deeper topic. So please help yourself be centered so you can be engaged during this. And so feel free to pause and do a mindfulness or something like that to help yourself be centered. Another thing that helps us be centered and process information is that Courageous Conversations compass, and really think about where you are in each quadrant, but think about where you tend to lean to and maybe lean into a different quadrant. And for agreements also help us think through this information and to stay engaged, experience discomfort, speak your truth, and expect and accept non-closure. And while I'm talking, please see if I focus on personal, local, and immediate, and isolate race in this conversation. So I want to acknowledge the tragic killing of Ahmaud Arbery in Brunswick, Georgia. My heart is heavy for his family and loved ones. I can't fathom the pain and grief of losing his son, who is also having a national spotlight on you and having to advocate for justice. This tragedy also brings up feelings of the intense reminder of the racism people of color face every day. Recently, during a training, Ms. Berry guided us through some questions regarding housing segregation and redlining. And in a small group discussion, a person of color brought up their privilege of living in a middle-class suburb as compared to the inner, densely populated areas of the city. Well, this is true when it comes to disparities we are seeing in the COVID-19 cases, as well as how neighborhoods are policed in regards to social distancing based on the demographics of the area. I also think of my own privilege as a white male living in that middle-class suburb, similar to hers, and giving no thought to how I will be, whether or not I'll be safe walking on the street. So this tragedy, along with the disparities we are seeing magnified by the crisis, really bring me to that feeling, Conrad, and I'm super angry. I may not show it, but maybe that look in my eyes is anger, and I also know that's a privilege I have as a white male to show anger and have that be seen as a positive, while other groups it can be seen as negative or even threatening. I was in a training today, and the facilitator showed this systemic racism tree in COVID-19, and shows those really branches that the roots of systemic racism, the branches that were built out of the racist policies around housing discrimination, high poverty rate, mass incarceration, lack of access to healthcare, barriers to employment and education disparities. And I'll share this slide so you can see those, and I'm sure it's a little hard to read in the video. But when I think of education, I not only think of those barriers to technology and resources, I also think of being a setting for building and the disparities of students of color that are in our building, and the challenge that families have right now of navigating two systems. As a father, navigating one system is challenging enough, and I can't imagine having a second child in a different educational system. I'm sure some of you at home have that, whether due to certain circumstances, and you can feel for those families in setting 4 as well. All right. Next, this weekend, I was really doing a lot of thinking about how to share this information. Really was thinking about, I came across that article and it really hit me like, well, why haven't I leaned into this and shared any information about how I'm feeling about this racial violence specific to the killing in Georgia. And I really had to do some deep thought on that. And this article really helped me think through that. And Jamila Pitts talks about, it's really centered on teachers in the classroom. So I changed her quote a little bit to help me reflect of that So I'm going to read it as when their leaders choose to remain silent about moments of racial tension or violence that may well touch educators' own communities or families. These educators are overtly reminded of their inferior place in society. So I want to apologize for not sharing and staying silent for a while here, but I commit to remaining silent no more and continue my work to be more anti-racist. That's one of my reflections, and I want to share. As you probably noticed, I definitely use the word racist more, and a lot of that has to do with my work. I'm reading a book by Dr. Ibram Kendi, and it really hits well here. This is a quote on Twitter from this Dr. Folio, I believe. So just like being racist isn't a fixed state, being anti-racist isn't a fixed state either. We all have to work at anti-racism continuously. You'll never arrive as an anti-racist. You have to commit to this for life, like brushing your teeth. So I think the biggest thing when that word, just clear the air on the word racist. A lot of time we're conditioned and sometimes think about that word racist as folks who wear a hat or violent acts, really overt racism that is depicted. But racist is defined by Ibram Kendi. Says he defines racist policy. He defines racism as racist policy through their actions or inactions or expressing a racist idea. So that racism plays out, and how rooted racism is in America. If you're not, from my perspective and Dr. Ibram, if we're not working on being anti-racist, really doing nothing and not reflecting on racism is really a racist act, which makes a lot of sense when you think about it. And then he defines anti-racist as one who is supporting an anti-racist policy through their actions or expressing an anti-racist idea. So really, I mean, the essence of it, right? And it makes a lot of sense. If we do nothing about racism, we're going to perpetuate racism. So our work is needing to be anti-racist. I want to commit to that. And I'm also committed to helping and really expecting everybody in the ABEC community to engage and grow to be more anti-racist. And I believe in us, in our journey to be able to be a more anti-racist community. And to do this, I want to point out that I had some other things in place that were much more in your face. And there was a well-respected, I'm in this cohort of folks and person I respect a lot, really talked about the importance of slowing down and listening. And that doesn't mean slowing down action. It means sometimes, and this is what we're conditioned to do too, we want action fast. And a lot of times that action can harm folks when we're not intentional and we're not listening to the right people. So that's why I put this reminder on mindful inquiry and really listen intently and deeply and listen to the folks who are oppressed. So that's students, that's listen to the right staff and the right staff on leadership teams. And I've talked to small groups of really committing to having those really active decision-making leadership teams within the building that I'll admit to failure this year. But it's really key if we, as ABEC community, want to commit to more anti-racist practices. So again, shared a lot of information, and hopefully you heard my personal local media through there. And so please just take a moment and reflect on where you're at, have some conversations. Please reach out if you want to chat more. Please reach out if you're struggling to me or to social workers. Chad's a great resource. Just reach out and for support. You cannot go through this alone. We need to be a community. So with that, to recenter ourselves, first, that's right. I have some great resources, and I'll share the slide deck. So again, there's a link to that book, How to Be Anti-Racist. Again, the language in this I'm really taking to, and I think it could really help us shift our thinking. And so if I have quite a few copies on my desk, I know the equity team are trying to get in and read it, and as a district leadership team are reading it as well. So if you just email me if you are interested in reading the book as well. These are two different options. One's an evening one, but this other one, May 21st, there's an option for, this is Ibram Kennedy he does tons of, Kendai, sorry, does tons of stuff online around conversations, and just learn a ton when you listen to him. Again, that is links and information I use there. All right. So thank you for listening. I know challenging topics, but imperative to helping students and helping our community continue to improve. And in the interest of well-being, I do want to take some time for a mindfulness meditation. I do not know how to shut this little video off in the corner, so you're going to have to watch me breathe. So sorry for that. Otherwise, we'll do the mindful meditation, and we will see you soon.
Allow yourself to be still for a moment and start breathing deeply in through the nose and out through the mouth. Don't worry about how loud your breathing is or if anyone can hear it. And there's no need to try and ignore any noise or distractions going on around you, or to try too hard to clear your mind. Imagine yourself as a rock in the middle of a stream. All the noise and commotion that may or may not be going on around you just washes over you without having any effect. Focus on your breath. Think about how anything that has negatively affected your day up until this point. And with each out-breath, you are simply going to imagine any unnecessary stress these events are causing you to feel just ease away. Breathe in and observe how you feel. Breathe out and feel it easing from your mind. Now, still breathing deeply, take a moment to visualize how you want the rest of the day to go. Imagine achieving any goals and successes at the end of the day, and how that will make you feel. Create a mental picture of what that looks like and take a moment to play that out in your mind. Whenever you're ready, bring the exercise to a close and open your eyes.